La prochaine invitée, vraiment, c'est quelqu'un de très spécial pour nous, pour Entertainer, c'est quelqu'un de très spécial pour moi. Pour ceux qui ont déjà entendu certaines autres conférences qu'on a fait dans le passé, j'aime des fois parler un peu du besoin de trouver notre voie de navigation dans ce dialogue, cette remise en question par rapport à l'IA. Et on donne l'exemple il faut se méfier autant des monstres marins, les dangers de l'IA, que des sirènes qui nous vendent n'importe quelle vision utopiste et tout ça. Mais d'une certaine façon, les sirènes sont là aussi pour nous inspirer. Et quand on pense à une muse, une ambassadrice, peut-être une sirène, pour nos industries créatives, il n'y a vraiment personne d'autre qui me vient en tête de manière aussi forte que ma prochaine invitée. Sandra Rodriguez, mesdames et messieurs. Sandra Rodriguez, c'est une... Non, attends, je vais le dire quand même, là. D'ailleurs, pour la blague, on dit toujours qu'on doit se voir, prendre des cafés, discuter, vraiment geek out et échanger, triper. Et finalement, tu as vu, on finit toujours par se voir dans les conférences, sur un stage. Donc voilà, je te prends pour le café tantôt. C'est une réalisatrice et une productrice primée. Sandra fusionne le documentaire, les technologies immersives, les projets tels que Future Rights, Chomsky versus Chomsky. Quelqu'un l'a vu ça? Quelqu'un l'a testé? Chomsky versus Chomsky? Yes, OK. Manic VR, ouais. Présenté à Sundance, Ars Electronica et IDFA. Elle est enseignante, plus maintenant, mais tu l'étais, au MIT, Open Documentary Lab et le Hacking XR Lab, je pense. Voilà. Et elle explore le potentiel de l'IA et de la XR dans la narration. Et elle interviendra à Entertainer sur le rôle évolutif des médias immersifs. Pourquoi on voulait vraiment avoir Sandra ici? Quand vous parlez d'être inspiré, on a invité Patrick à nous parler de justement cette perspective mondiale. Et je pense que c'est important d'identifier chez nous nos propres champions. Sandra, c'est un rayon de lumière. Elle illumine vraiment non seulement le Québec de sa créativité et de sa posture par rapport à l'inclusion de la technologie dans son œuvre artistique. Et je suis très, très fier de vous présenter notre amie Sandra Rodriguez.
Excusez, on m'a dit rentre avec la musique, mais on ne m'avait pas spécifié s'il fallait que je danse ou pas. J'ai une petite hésitation. Puis je crois que Alexandre met beaucoup de superlatifs pour voir si j'ai toujours la même confiance en moi quand j'arrive sur scène. Plus les superlatifs montent, plus je suis stressée. En même temps, je suis très, très, très contente d'être ici parce que je pense que tu l'as bien évoqué. Je suis aussi habituée, comme créatrice qui travaille avec la technologie et l'art, à me trouver dans des positions inconfortables. Qu'est-ce que j'appelle mes positions inconfortables? C'est que je suis souvent amenée, et on l'a testé ce clicker plusieurs fois plutôt qu'une. Voilà. Je suis amenée à convaincre des technologues que l'art n'est pas juste le petit frère des pauvres de la technologie, c'est pas juste une manière de démontrer son efficience, par exemple, avec IBM Watson qui peint une toile à numéro. C'est plutôt l'art qui amène l'innovation à la technologie. Je suis très, très, très contente d'avoir entendu Patrick l'évoquer. Toute technologie vient d'une création. Une création, on s'est dit, tiens, ça répond à certaines fonctions. Tout de suite, il y en a qui se disent « Comment j'arrive à faire de l'argent? » Il y en a d'autres qui se disent « Qu'est-ce que je fais avec? » Il y en a d'autres qui se disent « Qu'est-ce que je dis avec? » Quand on me demande si je considère que l'intelligence artificielle, pour moi, est un co-créateur ou un outil, ça me fait un peu rire. Je me dis « Là n'est pas vraiment l'enjeu de la question. Pour moi, c'est une matière, comme l'argile, comme le fusain, comme la peinture. C'est à la fois un espace de création, c'est un outil de création, c'est un sujet de création. Donc, ce n'est pas que une technologie, mais ce n'est pas non plus mon co-créateur. Pour moi, la création, c'est une manière incroyable d'investiguer notre relation comme humain avec le présent. Et notre présent, il est fait de data, de tracking, d'algorithmes, d'automation, de virtualité et d'amplification. J'ai tout préparé ma présentation en anglais parce qu'on m'avait dit « tout le monde parle en anglais ». J'ai dit « d'accord », mais là, j'ai décidé de tout mélanger parce que j'aime ça. What I generally like to use when I do technology and arts is experimentation and prototyping. So I work with scientists and researchers. At the MIT, that was amazing. I got to teach geeks and engineers that creativity was their superpower. And they didn't believe me at first. And in the end, they did installations. What do you want to do for a living? I want to do a demo for Bombardier. Fine, what else could you do? Maybe an artwork that when I walk into it, I see birds flying around. What is the beneficial aspect of the other part? Well, we experiment, we prototype. I like to use humor and mischief, and I like to disrupt uses. When we're told that there's one way to do something in one way, or else, the or else always annoys me. What if the or else was the only way, or the best way? And for this, I use play. Now, I never talk about myself in the third person, but I just thought this quote was kind of a cliché of what I do. Donc, Gauthier Guidel, professeur au Mila, disait récemment, Sandra's a bit of a hacker. Je me dis, what? Hello, les années 90, j'ai eu l'impression tout à coup de me retrouver dans des films où j'avais vos numéros de carte de crédit puis j'allais réussir à hacker certains systèmes. Mais en fait, ce qu'il considérait un hacking que je fais, c'est que je prends des outils, she takes tools to change up their uses, and in this twisted use, et j'aimais beaucoup cette citation, ma manière de le faire is twisted. She finds ways that are almost better than the initial reason for which they were created. Je me suis dit, si j'arrive à convaincre le Mila et j'arrive à convaincre le MIT, j'espère vous convaincre aujourd'hui qu'il y a une opportunité pour les artistes de devenir les muses, les catalyseurs de l'innovation. Et j'ai mis ici en opposition un peu ce dont je vais vous parler aujourd'hui, l'opposition entre brave futures and bright futures. Often we're told we shouldn't be afraid about technology, and I often chuckle when I'm told this, because I'm the artist that goes into the spaceship and tries to convince that there's a reason for the poet to be in that spaceship. I'm not afraid, but I'm going to look before I jump into the pool if there's some water, right? It's brave or it's smart. You know, is it a brave future or a bright future? And then when we're trying to talk about getting creative, there's so many space in between. Generative AI is just a tip of what AI actually is. And the boring AI sometimes has so much more potential and sometimes so much more sustainable potential. It's just one aspect that art got into and everybody got interested. What if the arts get into the other aspects? Maybe we're going to pay attention to those. Because time is running and I haven't been speaking 25 minutes, so I guess it's the other way around, what's the role of artists? Well, I'm going to try a little trick here. If I play this while I'm talking, this is not new. These words are not new. And I'm guessing this is 60-year-old information, and I'm guessing some of you are already hearing a couple of notes in their heads. Maybe not. Who here is already hearing music? OK, bon, je suis vraiment en train de tester ma capacité d'être en public. Il y a quand même quelques mains qui se sont levées. What are artists used for? This song, these words, are tapping into our collective memory 60 years later. It's not about technology, it's about imagination. The words stuck to a moment in history that we see repeating. We remember the song, remember even the music and the rhythm into it. No technology is used here for me to play in your brains. And by the end of today, when you still have that music in your ear and you say, God damn, Sandra Rodriguez, I can't get it out of my head, you'll realize the power of art. What I do in my life, I often try to not bring back some slides because you've seen them or you haven't seen them, but it's been more than 13 years ago that for an experience called Do Not Track, we were trying to study the potential of big data on society and how much it was changing the way we envision the value of a human. The way we envisioned value of a human then was how much data we could track about that human. In other words, if we could convince people that we could automate their lives, asking you what are the tasks you need to do in a day, how many of these we can tick off, we sell a small promise, and the small promise is efficiency. If you tell me what your job is, if you can convince me instead of telling me, just put it into bullet points. Maybe one day we'll be able to be more efficient. Or maybe one day we'll have the situation happening in the US where you're justifying your job in a series of 5 bullet points, and there's a system that decides with a lot of its bias if you're in or if you're out. We see the promises sold then as efficiency and the repercussions today. And I'm not predicting the future. I'm very bad at oracles. But what I'm good at is hearing. Hey, stop. What's that sound? Everybody look what's going down, right? I'm very good at listening. And that listening told me there's a lot of data. Our communities, our societies believe in data. We no longer believe in the value of a human outside of its data. We consider that we can identify ourselves through data. Can that data be used for storytelling? And then I got interested in virtual reality, but in particular, not 360, even though I did some bad 360 video, but could you use biometrics? Could you use your body into a space, the way you move on a stage? Could you use your gait, the way you walk? Could you use some surveillance technology? What's the technology, as Patrick was saying right before me, what's the how? What are the tools that are at my availability to tell stories? And these stories could be any stories. They could talk about self-introspection. This is me teaching a class at MIT. We were not only the first class teaching XR at MIT. That, again, got a lot of convincing. I love to be the underdog. I get at MIT as a visiting artist, and I convince a dean that we need to teach arts to engineer. The first reaction is, no, they won't like it. And I say, okay, can I get just 21 students to teach a class? Sure. And then we got about 200 the first year, 300 the next year, and the following years we got Harvard Design School wanting in. So many people wanted the class. And I'm not teaching anymore because I'm here back in Montreal, which is great. But we also taught the first virtual reality class in virtual reality, and the meta approach becomes laughable, because when we talk about technology, we often don't really use it, or we use it barely. We don't really change so much with it. And then I started to think, what if I could mix both? What if I could use virtual reality to create worlds in which people question artificial intelligence? So that's the beginning of Chomsky versus Chomsky back in 2016. The goal was, can we create an experience where people learn through play? And we know kids learn so much more when they play than when they are taught. So we're telling you about big data, now we're telling you about artificial intelligence, we're telling you about natural language processing systems. So many complex terminologies. On one hand, we tell you, it's so complex, don't try to understand it. My position is, artists are canaries in the mine. We want you to understand it, because maybe that's how we collectively choose our futures. So how do you understand? Well, play. Can I create systems and worlds in which you realize not only playing with the technology, what it means, but also that's 2023, Sex, Desires, and Data with Phi Center was a 2-floor exhibit on what trains our data systems. So I'm going to use a word you won't like, cats. No, that's not the word I was looking for, it was porn. Actually, you do like it, sorry, again, my mistake. So porn, cats, mangas, and pirated content are what you find the most online. You said it out loud. Yes, I did. So we're training systems with what's more readily available. Porn, cats, mangas. I don't have anything against mangas. But yet then we realize, oh, that's why all the images I'm prompting look like that. Yes, that is why, because the commodity of it is there. It doesn't mean it's the only data available. There's so much more data available. What if we are using other types of data that starts to build up? This is the example of Futurites. Futurites is an experience where we're using technology used in first-person shooter games, which are called dance cards. And I thought, they're called dance cards for first-person shooter games? That's great AI in games, but could we use it for dance? So we're partnering with choreographers, dancers, and the Philharmonia of Luxembourg to revisit the Rite of Spring, because I love a challenge. And so for those who don't know Stravinsky, nobody can dance to the Rite of Spring. It's impossible. But then maybe AI can help you do so in a very elegant and unexpected way. Some of you haven't seen Chomsky. I love that you've given me the floor. Chomsky wasn't really seen. It got launched in Montreal in 2023, fall 2023. And speaking about the difficulties of the technology is there, but it's been a year now fighting off just to retrieve the experience from the NFB, because as some of you may know, the interactive department shut down. So no more funds for interactive work from the National Film Board of Canada. And because there's nobody there to replace, we're sleeping in a hall, but we're now trying to bring it back to life. What I love about this, though, I'll show you the trailer.
I think the hardest thing about communication is understanding the intended meaning of a message. I am an emulation of voice and language patterns of Professor Chomsky.
What I love about this is that we're bringing it back to life and with so much ease, because it's been a year and AI has changed so much in a year. So a year ago, I would go back down to Cambridge, Massachusetts, talk to Russ Gant, who's been an advisor to, wow, I just had a Satya, and I forgot his first name, CEO of Microsoft. I just forgot his first name, Nadella, thank you so much. Sorry, this is the stage. I was going to say, I went to see Russ Gant, who told us, just wait it 2 years, maybe 3 years. Sometimes we say, don't try to think too much into the future, but that's his actual job. It's thinking 10 years ahead for Harvard University. And so I just asked, how easy is it to get all of these systems that are so complex and costly right now to function on a physical computer? And he said, give it 3 years, give it 4 years. It's been 2 years, and we're already there. It's not even been 2 years, it's been a year, and we're already there. So we're reviving the system, and some of you may get to see it soon. But what was the goal of the experience for those of you who got to see it? It was just peeking into the clunky technology because it's fun, because we always wait for things to be perfect to understand them. But getting to understand tokens is really hard. How do you get people to stop saying, the computer is sentient because it told me a sentence, and then you show it, yeah, you see how, right? It's just predicting the next token. And suddenly, you stop falling in love with it, but you don't stop using it. You just stop believing in the clouds and the unicorns, as said before. But I was also trying to say there's something else we're not talking about. What's special about the human brain? Our capacity to collaborate without even being told the rules of this game. Users were here, playing with each other, not knowing what to get to, but they knew how to play the game because they knew how to help each other. Computers still can't do that. AI systems are very bad at collaborating. They're very good at competing. And we keep telling ourselves that's because how humans behave. Well, that's not what history tells us. History tells us that human brains are actually very good at collaborating, better than they are at competing. What else can we say? What if I showed what porn could teach us about ourselves? I'm showing you here images and an installation called Results, trained on 25 million pornographic videos. Good, don't worry, you won't see any real body. But at the beginning, it kept showing us real human anatomy. And we had to find ways to trick it so that it only showed us patterns, textures, and movements. That was really hard, but that taught me how to use negative prompts. The power of negative prompts to protect today copyright material, for instance, that we're not even disclosing and talking about. Negative prompts are powerful. You're telling systems what to exclude. You could use a negative prompt to exclude pirated content, for instance. What else is out there? Well, just predictive policing is strong. When we started Do Not Track 12 years ago, the systems used by the police of Southern Wales in the UK had systems that failed 98% of the times. Now, you heard me right. They failed 98% of the times in identifying citizens. They are still used today. How much better are they doing? What do you expect their percentage to be? 13? How much? 96. They're so much better, right? 96% of the times they fail at identifying an individual. But we're using them for predictive policing. And now we're told that AI systems will just make them a little bit better. Well, that's a question. Can we use it to do something else, like create a choreography? These are bots that are trained on a library of 95 choreographed movements, and we're not telling them what to do, we're just telling them where to stand, and sometimes they know what to do, sometimes they don't know what to do, sometimes they try to avoid each other, sometimes they go into full, but you have hesitation moments that are elegant, and it's not bringing us, what I love is this, we're also trying to teach them how to play tag. So, you're the, oh, no. And this is just, it's taking out most of the joy about playing tag. It's making it creepy. But I'm just thinking so many applications where we could use it. And for now, it's just fun. And don't worry, it's called 2, but it's 2 for a reason. We'll go through this a lot more quickly. My goal here is to say that going with boldness into technology and playfulness into technology doesn't mean stop thinking. We need to ask the right questions. I've used this slide so many times, 10 years ago, but I like to bring it back because what it tells about the now in our societies, back then, the web was turning into a massification tool. We had massification media before, and now it was mass media, yet again, a massification of the media. We turned to personalization so that everybody could do the massification themselves, but they're still all filming the same stuff. And then today, people are still, enamored with the Pope doing a lot of prowess on skateboards, which I think is interesting. Hey, the Pope is still on a skateboard. I think there's something there. Back then, I'm bringing back the past and the present just to show you that we've kind of seen the path that we're seeing today. Back then, the Canaries were trying to say, you know what, the data is super biased. You know what, it's super easy to manipulate. You know what, it can be used to make you believe in anything, and there's a thing called filter bubbles. The more you use it, the less you understand the rest of the world, the more you understand only yourself and your preferences. And now has it changed? Well, the thing is, we're seeing so many uses of artificial intelligence proclaimed as huge advancement, whether in video or dancing robots or, users doing whatever this is with a cat in a box and, videos of people eating spaghetti. You remember when we used to say social media, stop filming your spaghetti? There's a meta approach to this thing where we like to train AI systems to eat spaghetti, And we're told that 50% of jobs will be lost. And we know who these are assistants. Before we said artists, some of them said lawyers. Remember that? It just passed the bar test. There was researchers, therapists, stylists, artists, writers, photographers, graphic designers, animators, musicians, singers, actors, directors, casting editors, administrative marketing managers, receptionists, accountants, coders, programmers, developers, scientists, gamers, web design, and web consumers of these web design, and CTOs, and CCOs, and CFOs, and CEOs. Right? These are never named. Why aren't they never named? It's really easy to automate a CEO's schedule. Maybe we don't need the CEO. Yikes! Right? It's a collective choice. The issue is that I think artists have been used to being told we're going to lose our jobs, and because we don't actually work, we don't care. It made me think of the robotic arm before. I've used this video before. I know you've seen me. I love this video. This arm found Waldo faster than any of us could. But it missed the point. Because the point is not finding Waldo, it's searching for Waldo. Feel-good moment of nostalgia. I'm bringing back nostalgia because when we talk about innovation for innovation purpose and that we need to get with innovation, that people have resisted innovation, all of this is true. But the balance here is which innovation we're talking about. This is the entrance of my house, not the actual picture in my but the frame. When you walk into my house, I like to bring it with the first photography ever brought because it's technology and arts and everything's into everything. And so we're saying it's just like the beginning of photography or film or the internet or cell phones or social media. And we're never comparing it to genetically modified organisms or pop-ups, or concrete or plastic or Dolly. Where did Dolly go? This is the future. We're all going to head this way. Better get used to it. We're all going to be clones in a nearby future. Because it's not that it was false. It could have been true. But these were collective choices. We forget, and we tend to forget, that we are humans and therefore collective entities. On one scale, we talk about the priority of automation, datification, categorization, tagification, that's not an actual word, reinforcement learning and predictions, and we put aside all that artists like to focus on: experience, complexity, discriminations versus diversity, context, errors, and erring, just the beauty of erring, like finding Waldo, purpose versus roles, coincidence, community, and serendipity. I love serendipitous findings. If I automate everything, I will lose these first. Now, where I'm happy to be here today is because we're just starting to tip over the hype. And that's where the real innovation starts. We're starting to see people saying, actually, bigger is better paradigm is not really good. And we don't need all that data for it to work so well. We're also seeing a lot of pushback from younger generations. We're expecting them to be early adopters, and some of them are already calling out the hype and saying, oh, this is so ugly, it's AI. They're already calling out the cliches of AI, which I think is good, because then we're going to start to see real innovation. And Claude Théoret, who is going to be on our panel this afternoon, has started to bring back, and I hope he does this afternoon as well, real conversations about the fact that it's actually not, making these big corporations make so much money. They're actually losing a lot of money. And they're expecting us to buy into AI because they need to fill in the gap that they've created. In other words, they announce so much and they're not making so much money that we need to fill in what's missing. Do we still want to pay? And you have companies that are getting smart, too, that are saying, actually, if we keep building the hype, we're going to lose the population that we want to pay. Moreover, people are testing systems. We've been saying, where we use ChatGPT more than search engines, for instance. Even with deep search, I keep testing it myself. It keeps telling me that if I want concise information, I should use search engines. It's very transparent. It keeps telling you that the information it has is failed and often closed into time. So if you want to have live information, go search elsewhere. It's also telling me how much more energy it's using. So try it. People are now accessing the technology, so I think the hype will come back down itself. And this is just a bit of silliness, me testing, of course, like we all do, ChatGPT, but I just asked it, can you tell me about the Gulf of Mexico? It tells me the Gulf of Mexico is the Gulf of America. And I say, really? And it says, oh, I don't know why I said that. Actually, I have no information to explain the change of my tone here. So then I try to mess up with it a little bit. The Gulf of Mexico remains the Gulf of Mexico, and no executive order from any U.S. presidents can unilaterally rename an international body of water. It tells me this. So I say, okay, mess up with, could the Gulf of America be the Gulf of Cuba? I'm just messing up with it so it doesn't know what I want. And of course, then it really gets, well, if you want to name it, you could, but I mean, that's not how it works. It will never change. It's so easy, right? We keep doing this. But the more you test these systems, the more you realize how much it's just trying to do a filter bubble on steroids. It's trying to tell you what you want to hear. The more you get it to say exactly what you want to hear. And so the puppet is suddenly visible. This is an artist that I know, Amelia Winger Bearskin, that I think has the best quote, "Who benefits from your burnout?" We're all told we're going to lose our jobs. We all rush out of a fear of missing out. We're so stressed out that we're going to be left out of the equation, and we're all so tired, right? Who here isn't tired? And I envy you. Of course, nobody raised their hands. Who benefits from this burnout is my question. So what kind of artists are we? Well, maybe we're artists that find it funny that we keep obsessing over astronauts and horses. I just think there's something there to explore. Maybe one day I will. I also try to go against the grain and say, can just these words, sticky jam, dull-up, and delicate porcelain, be enough to generate an image? I want to be there for the prompt battle, because I want to see, can you narrow it down to just like 3 words and get the best prompt? Just because why not? That means you really, really, really know how the pools of data are organized, and not because you believe a system understands you. This is my little test yesterday. That's the substance moment. Only one word differentiates the image on the left from the image on the right. I've told you that a lot of it is porn, right? So I already sold. You know what that keyword is? Sexy. I asked it for a middle-aged woman. It gave me this on the left. And I said, no, sexy middle-aged woman. Woohoo! What? Whoa, style transfer, what happened there? Woo! But what I like, too, is look at the little substance moment. She has 2 earrings. For those of you who saw the movie The Substance, little earring at the end. There's a baby face on the arm. This is awesome. Middle-aged women have babies growing out of their arms. What's in the prompt, too? Don't try to, Google yourself, we were told, now don't try to chat GPT yourself. Well, actually, that's what I do. I use my bio from past conferences, and I know which, I don't know if you're like me, lazy, but I keep using the same picture for the same conferences and the same bio. And sometimes, like now, when somebody says she's a producer, I go, oh, it's been a while. Or, somebody says she's been teaching. Well, not since 2 years. So what I did is use my biography and just use prompt to image. So no image of mine was used. Just the prompts, just my bio as prompt. Can you play that game? Do you see something in here? Whoop, looking away. And then, whoop, a little square around the face with lines and dots. And then, whoop, actually, this line looks pretty much like me. I just used a prompt. And the prompt just says my name and who I am. I didn't ask it for an image that used my image, but they're inadvertently connected. Silliness. Breaking down myths is power, so demystifying is democratizing. That's what I believe the role of artists is also to do. That was for a publication because I am also a researcher, so as a researcher, I published a chapter on the role of arts for human-centered AI, a book called Human-Centered AI. And that was published in 2023, means we started writing it in 2021. And back then, I kept saying a lot of people will have access to creating high-quality visuals or musical arts or games or codes or even essays. But what is deemed high quality is fixed in a context and time. And hopefully, with the help of artists, that will evolve and change. So dichotomy is really bad because you get on one end people that are cliches of their status. I would, of course, expect somebody in the US, powerfully shaved, a white man, not to say it, to say that the best analogy is what a steam engine is to a muscle, AI is to the brain. It's also possible that at some point it will be superior to human artists. And I'm just thinking, if you've ever met an artist, there's no superior artist. Who is superior? Van Gogh or Dali? Who is superior? An actress or a juggler? How do you label superiority in arts? And then you have people who are used to fighting for discrimination, that say, there's something fundamentally human, and maybe that's the fact that we can't even recognize intelligence in another human. We're very bad at respecting other human beings, and yet here we are defining systems that are supposed to represent our values. Whose values? And I don't bring you answers. That's not my role. I'm just an artist. I'm here asking questions. Long story short, and I'm finishing with this, and I have 3 seconds to go, but it's my conclusion. I don't want us to be thinking in 10 years, I'm so sorry to hear, how did AI happen to you? We're going to tell our sad stories of how AI happened to us. I don't believe in this. I think this is a caricature of Patrick. Because I do believe, as he just presented to, that that's the role of artists. Hand over the money, or I'll explain the absurdity of all human activity. And it's true. We're there to call out the bullshit. We're there to also show how else we could use things in a way that's beneficial for us all, or maybe not. Just get some ideas stirring and brewing. I think now more than ever is the time that we influence and challenge and disrupt the narrative, and we're very good at doing this. And I also think that sometimes, not just artists, but also citizens, misuse the technology so much that it changes the technology itself. For those of you who don't believe it, Facebook is not used for dating anymore. If it's ever still used. That's just another question for the next upcoming generation. Art, like any technology, is above and before all relational. And I love that I feel that you are here with me in the room. And just because I annoyed you with a song, and some of you will keep it in their heads all day and some not, I'm finishing with just a little bit of a song. Yeah. Now you have, okay, it's okay. That's how you get rid of an earworm, right? You need to listen to the music. Ceux qui ont des verres d'oreille, that's how to get rid of them. Creating with AI, like any art, music, acting, painting, sculpting, and robotic arms is always an act of resistance. Thank you so much.